All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is Greta Christina. Greta is a writer whose work has been seen at Alternet, Ms., and the Skeptical Inquirer. She is the author of several books. Her latest is Coming Out Atheist, How to Do It, How to Help Each Other, and Why, which you can find at freethoughtblogs.com/Greta. You can also find her on Twitter at Greta Christina. Greta, thank you so much for being on the show again.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, so Greta, let's start out by discussing kind of one of the main cruxes of the new book. Why do you think it is important that atheists come out?
Well, there's a number of reasons. The most important reason is that it just makes our own lives better. One of the things that I found when I was researching this book, I read over 400 coming out stories from atheists talking about how they had told the people in their lives that they were non-believers. And literally, of the over 400 stories that I read, one person said that they regretted having done it. Everybody else said that they felt better, that their lives were better, their relationships with people were mostly better. And even if that didn't happen, even if they did upset and alienate the people in their lives, they still felt better. They didn't like having this burden of secrecy. You know, they didn't like to have to keep their mouths shut when people were saying anti-atheist bigotry and dogma, and they didn't want to have to keep this kind of major secret from the people they cared about. And also, when we come out as non-believers, it makes it easy for us to find each other. You know, we can form communities. One of the common themes that comes up in the book is that often when people come out as atheists, people in their lives say, "Oh my gosh, me too. I'm an atheist too. I didn't know you were. I was keeping it secret from you." So it's how we find each other. So that's the most important reason, is that it makes our own lives better. And there's some research backing this up. It's not a ton of research, but there is some research backing this up, showing that and there needs to be more. But the research does show that when atheists come out of the closet, our lives get better. Again, even if it does alienate and upset the people we know.
Well, what's great about the book is you actually kind of give different methods of actually ways that people who may have not come out can actually come out, like different ways of doing it. Because a lot of us, I'm an atheist, but it's like, I remember when I kind of became an atheist, like in my probably early 20s. I was a very angry atheist and stuff like that. And and not that there isn't reason to be angry, but there may be better ways of actually doing it and different ways of actually approaching it. So let's discuss some of the kind of, I guess, sort of the basic different methods that people who may not be out can come out.
Sure. I mean, it's a large topic, obviously. Hey, I wrote a whole book about it. And
right.
One of the most, but one of the most important things to remember is that coming out is different for everybody.
Right.
It's, what was like for me isn't necessarily what it's going to be like for you. It's not necessarily what it's going to be like for, whoever's listening to this show. And that's for a lot of different reasons. People have different circumstances in their lives. The people in their lives may be more or less hostile. It may be different because of whatever, culture or subculture they're in, where they're living, what part of the country or what part of the world they're living in. And also it's different just depending on their personalities. So I think that's one really important thing to remember, is that it's not like there's this one formula for how to come out. And so when I'm writing the book, I'm not so much saying this is exactly what you should do. There's a handful of basic guidelines, but what I'm saying is, if you do this, this might happen. If you do this other thing might happen. Here are some experiences that other people have had who are in your situation. So make your own choice based on this information and just based on who you are and your own situation. So there's a few basics. One is to have patience. It's when the people we come out to react badly, try to remember that may not last. People may have an initial bad reaction and then they get over it. So it's important to have patience, to try to be the bigger person. If they react really badly, don't let that be the trigger for you to start reacting badly as well. And at the same time, there's a sort of a flip side of that, which is that it's important to not let yourself be a doormat. You can be, calm and respectful and patient, but still have boundaries about what you're willing to accept. If people react very badly, if they're, abusive or hostile or, start yelling horrible things about atheists at you, you can draw a line. You can draw a line about how much proselytizing you're willing to listen to and so on. And I mean, there's a number of basics. I have a whole chapter in the book on these kind of basic guidelines for coming out, as well as, what coming out is like for different people, what it's like if you're a student, what it's like if you're a parent, if you're in a conservative community, what it's like coming out to your family, to your friends, and so on at the workplace. But another basic that I think is important is to not get sucked into arguments about whether God exists. And if people are out there familiar with my writing, they might be surprised by that, because I actually advocate getting into arguments with believers about whether God exists if you want to. I think that those can be very effective. But I don't think the coming out conversation is the time to do it, because nerves may already be worked. The people in your lives may already be feeling hurt and rejected. So I think it's not a good idea to exacerbate that by saying, and not only do I not believe in God, but you shouldn't either, and here's all the reasons why.
Right. It's enough to. It's probably enough for the other person. Again, we're trying to be the better person here. It's enough that you may be shocking their system a little bit with where you're coming from, without maybe necessarily trying to pile it on to them and say, no, wait, you should be down with this as well. So maybe save that for the next dinner.
Exactly. But there's one other very important guideline that all this is bringing up, and that's to give the people that you care about the benefit of the doubt and don't assume the worst. I mean, of course, we're talking about these scenarios where people are going to get upset, where people are going to get angry, where people are, possibly really going to get, angry and even try to push you out of their lives. And that does happen. But that doesn't happen as much as we think it's going to happen. One of the things that really surprised me when I was doing the research for this book was I was expecting just horror story after horror story after horror story. And I did see horror stories, but I also saw a lot of stories of people saying, it really wasn't that bad. It was fine. I was expecting a big blow up and it turned out to be not that big a deal. Or else people say, it was kind of an uncomfortable conversation, but it wasn't as bad as I thought, and then things got better pretty quickly. So, certainly it's worth, being prepared, for if bad things happen or if it's a difficult conversation, but don't go in with a giant black cloud over your head. It might go much better than you think.